Welcome back, friends. In today's episode, I'm going to give you a little history on Las Vegas, as well as a history on the Moulin Rouge, which was Las Vegas's and the United States' first fully integrated hotel and casino. I am very excited about this episode because I love Vegas, so I'm just going to jump right in and set the scene for you. I'm going to start at the very beginning, when nomadic paleo tribes traveled to Las Vegas about 10,000 years ago. We know these native Las Vegans were there because they left behind petroglyphs as evidence. Anasazi and Paiute tribes were known to have passed through and settled there briefly as well. In 1829, a young Mexican scout named Rafael Rivera is credited as the first non-Native American to enter the valley. Trader Antonio Armijo then led a 60-man party along the Spanish Trail to Los Angeles, California, later that same year. In 1844, John C. Fremont arrived, and his writings helped lure pioneers to the area. Downtown Las Vegas's Fremont Street is named after him. 11 years later, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints chose Las Vegas as the site to build a fort halfway between Salt Lake City and Los Angeles. The fort was eventually abandoned, but the remainder can still be seen at the intersection of Las Vegas Boulevard and Washington Avenue. In 1911, Las Vegas was incorporated as a city. Vegas at this time was kind of like the Wild West. Laws were loose, and people of all races came and went as they pleased, with not much thought to Jim Crow ideals. But by 1931, Nevada had legalized casino gambling and reduced residency requirements for divorce to 6 weeks. This brought a boom to the city and national recognition, which resulted in Vegas practicing segregation so fiercely that they were called the Mississippi of the West. If you know anything about Mississippi during this time, you know how terrible that was. Following World War II, lavishly decorated hotels, gambling casinos, and big-name entertainment started to become synonymous with Las Vegas. Prior to the 1960s, it was also known as a nuclear testing site and was nicknamed the Atomic City. Residents and visitors were able to witness the mushroom clouds and were exposed to the fallout until 1963, when the Partial Nuclear Test Ban Treaty required that nuclear tests be moved underground. Thank God. By the 1950s, almost all of the casinos in downtown Las Vegas and the Strip were segregated, completely off limits to Black people, unless they were part of the entertainment or labor force. The town's Black residents occupied a 3.5 square mile area called the West Side, where dirt streets ran past tents, shanties, and outhouses. Black people could work on the Strip and at hotels and casinos only as cooks, maids, janitors, and porters. These were behind-the-scenes jobs that kept their profiles and wages low. Workers who dealt with the public were white. Regarding the Black entertainers that were booked in the city, performers like Sammy Davis Jr., Nat King Cole, and Ella Fitzgerald were allowed to entertain and wow the crowds on stage, yet they were unable to enter through the front door and were made to go through stage or kitchen doors, leaving the same way after taking their bows. They weren't allowed to stay at any of the places they played either, spending the night in boarding houses in the West Side. The welcome was definitely not warm for these famous entertainers. They couldn't even try on clothes at white-owned stores. If you tried something on, they actually made you buy it. And when Sammy Davis Jr. took a dip in a whites-only swimming pool at the New Frontier, the manager actually drained the pool. Lena Horne was the exception who proved the rule. A favorite of gangster Bugsy Siegel, the singer was allowed to stay at the Flamingo as long as she steered clear of the casino, restaurants, and other public areas. When she checked out, her bed sheets and towels were burned. The only entertainer that managed to get casino owners to temporarily break the tradition of segregation was Miss Josephine Baker. As an international sex symbol, Ernest Hemingway once called her the most sensational woman anyone ever saw. The superstar had the power to bend the rules in Vegas. Her contract stipulated that Black people could buy tickets to her show. This clause was tested when she played a date at the El Rancho in the early 50s, and Black ticket buyers were kept out. Baker sat on the stage, doing nothing. "I'm not going to entertain," she said. "I'm going to sit right here until they make up their minds what they want to do." Love her. One of the Black ticket holders that was there that night recalled the incident, saying that customers were waiting. Finally, the management let us in and told us to sit down, and then they served us. Meanwhile, Black Las Vegas residents had become more vocal in pushing for city officials to pass a civil rights ordinance to allow African Americans to dine, gamble, and stay at the city's hotels. This intrigued a group of white investors who worked in real estate in California. They came to Vegas and financed and opened the Moulin Rouge at a cost of $3.5 million. The investors saw the business potential of an integrated hotel and casino and opened the Moulin Rouge in hopes of cashing in. They recruited former heavyweight boxing champion Joe Louis to serve as the Moulin Rouge's official greeter and co-owner, designed by local architects Walter Zick and Harris Sharp and named after the famous Parisian cabaret. The hotel had 110 rooms, a swimming pool, a 60-foot-high neon Eiffel Tower, and a neon sign designed by Betty Willis. Willis later designed the iconic "Welcome to Fabulous Las Vegas" sign. From its opening night on May 24, 1955, the Moulin Rouge was a magnet for performers. It was the only hotel where Black and white entertainers could socialize with one another in Vegas, and they loved it. Black entertainers who performed in the Moulin Rouge's showroom include Lionel Hampton, Dinah Washington, Gregory Hines, and the Platters. Popular among all races, the place attracted a mixed clientele of Black and white patrons. Celebrities like Ella Fitzgerald, Frank Sinatra, Harry Belafonte, Dean Martin, Dorothy Lamour, and Judy Garland made their way to the Moulin Rouge. Zsa Zsa Gabor, Jack Benny, and Sophie Tucker would drop in after their shows to gamble and perform. Eventually, management added a 2:30 a.m. show, a third show, to accommodate the crowds. It also offered employment opportunities for residents of the West Side. Black Las Vegans found employment as dealers, cocktail waitresses, bartenders, security guards, and managers. The harsh segregation restrictions elsewhere in Las Vegas did not exist at the Moulin Rouge, which was a welcome relief for the Black people who were part of the city and those who visited. Plus, it was a really chic place to boot. A Las Vegas Review-Journal article, published the day after opening, reported the hotel casino has all of the plush appointments of the swank establishments which preceded it and serves some of the finest food in the city. The shows were spectacular as well. The most popular attraction at the time of its opening was its marquee number, an African-themed late-night show called the Tropican-Can, which featured Las Vegas's only all-Black chorus line. In June of 1955, dancers from the Moulin Rouge even made the cover of Life magazine. I'm going to end here for now, but in my next episode, I'll be giving you a first-person look on what it was like to work in Las Vegas as a showgirl at the Moulin Rouge, its tragic and potentially mysterious end, and its important part of desegregation history. As always, if you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you the Friday after next when I conclude the series.